Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We have a webinar today that we're going to focus on the new ecosystem dynamics, right? How you can use digitization as a driver of global quality. With that, we have two presenters today. We have Matt Lowe with MasterControl and Matt Seitz-Paquette with Fagron. So we're going to call that the dueling Matts, and I'm going to turn it over to them to take it from here.
Thank you, Jennifer. I prefer M squared. So we'll go with that. Yeah.
It's more technical.
So it's a pleasure to be with you today. As Jennifer mentioned, we're talking about the new business model and how digitization in your quality systems can really help you excel within the new dynamics that we deal with in the business world. So just a quick summary here. There we go. Get my clicker going right. Some things that we want you to take away from the presentation today. First one, obviously, is the way that business has changed. It's rare that a company does everything inside of its own four walls. Usually you've got a supply chain that's fairly complex. You may have consultants, healthcare professionals, whatever it may be, that are interacting with your business across the globe, multiple different time zones. So maintaining a quality system in that type of environment becomes that much more complex when you've got all of these different entities that you're dealing with. We'll take a look at the role that QMS extensibility plays and how you can help expand the footprint of your quality management system across that very diverse set of entities that you're dealing with in your business. And it's a great pleasure to have my fellow Matt from Fagron today, who is going to talk to us about how this process has really streamlined their business and changed the way that they're doing things in this business environment. Whoop. There we go. So again, just some key takeaways today. Understanding the 8 key elements of a quality management system, an effective quality management system. Taking a look at the mechanisms that you can utilize to expand that quality system across the entire ecosystem that you're dealing with. And then finally, really the value of connecting and aligning your quality processes, and more importantly, the data that comes from those processes. So with that, just some quick introductions here. Again, my name is Matt Lowe. I head up our R&D function here at MasterControl. Been with the company for going on 15 years now. Have spent time in pretty much every role there is in the company. So I've had the opportunity to observe our clients and how they're leveraging digitalization, streamlining their quality systems, automation across all the different facets of the life sciences industry. Prior to that, spent time in the medical device industry. So I call that my first career, but was able to see, firsthand what a quality management system should operate like within the medtech industry. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Matt Seitz-Paquette.
Hello, Matt. I'm happy to be here. My name is Matt Seitz-Paquette. I am the North America Quality Specialist for Fagron. I've been with Fagron for almost 4 years now, and I've had various roles in quality throughout, and now in addition to serving our locations in North America, I act as the global sysadmin for MasterControl for Fagron.
So in short, Matt will tell you what it's really like to do this, and I'll tell you what we envision it should be like at MasterControl. So he'll be the one that you want to listen to most closely. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the heart of our presentation here, quality in the modern era. Really this slide is just a recap of some of the summary that we went through up front. This situation where you're dealing with all kinds of different entities that are spread all over the globe. How do you align quality processes there? How do you keep everyone headed in the same direction? Matt, I know that at Fagron, you guys are living this situation every day. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We are. So Fagron operates several different types of businesses under the umbrella of personalized medicine. The most significant of that being compounding. And in times like this, where medications rise and fall suddenly in demand and supply, this is a key area where compounding can fill that need. And Fagron operates several outsourcing facilities for compounding medications for hospitals that are needed in surgeries that aren't available from a traditional pharmaceutical manufacturer. So having a robust quality system is very important so that we can adapt and fill those needs quickly and safely and effectively.
Yeah, and I know that in today's COVID world, compounders are playing kind of a front and center role in medications and how we're learning to treat the virus and folks that are dealing with the symptoms of the virus. So it's exciting to be able to talk to you today, as it's very relevant, I think, to what we're facing in the world today. So quality alignment challenges, you just heard Matt talk about all the different sites that they have. Throw in the contractors in the mix, whether those are contract manufacturers, maybe they're consultants that you're working with, or even healthcare professionals. How do you align all of that together when everyone is flung all over the globe? It's pretty common to see quality inconsistencies between the different sites, as well as with your contractors and your supply chain. In fact, sometimes some of these entities might have a tendency to run a little wild. Matt, I don't know if you guys encountered that at all prior to implementing your MasterControl system.
We did. We have a half dozen sites in the United States and nearly 50 sites around the world in over 20 countries. And everybody more or less acted independently. People followed different processes. People would reinvent the wheel when they could have collaborated with a team from another country or site. And MasterControl really helped solve these problems.
That is great to hear. What were some of the things that you guys did to kind of centralize your quality management system?
So initially we debated if each site should have their own MasterControl site. And we thought in order to really harness the power of the data and be efficient and collaborate better, that we needed to be together in one site. So putting all of our different companies and locations into the single MasterControl site, granting the necessary people access to see the documents and events and processes going on at the other companies, really helped drive that continuous improvement and allows us to bring our products to customers faster.
That is great to hear. It's exciting for us at MasterControl to see the realization of our own company mission to bring life-changing products to more people sooner. And we see that through our customers and what they're able to do in the marketplace and to improve our healthcare situation globally. So let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you might encounter in trying to bring the quality system together. I'm sure it wasn't a super easy thing, Matt. Would you say that was the case?
It was a challenge for sure, but worth it.
That's good to hear. So some ideas around why you would do this. Maybe you can speak to this slide around what motivated you at Fagron to bring the sites together under a single quality management system.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, everybody was more or less siloed and doing their own thing. And we didn't have a good sense on what was going on at the local level. And that was probably the biggest motivating factor. And then you throw in the changing regulatory landscape, especially with regards to compounding in the United States. And we needed a system that could rapidly adapt and help us stay at the forefront of compliance and even exceeding those requirements.
That makes perfect sense. This idea of the sites running wild on their own, that's a pretty scary thought when you work in the quality assurance profession. It's not ideal, right?
Right. And there's a lot of hidden data there that who knows what inefficiencies were there, what opportunities we were missing because we weren't able to harness, analyze, and act on that data.
Yeah. So now that you've got a number of your sites in the system, do you have plans for expansion to go to additional sites?
Absolutely. So we've started with just the first 4 sites in the United States. We are going live with our 5th one next month. We are configuring 10 additional sites in Europe right now to go live by the end of the year. And then we'll be rolling out more modules in the system to the sites and adding even more companies in additional phases until eventually all 2,700 employees will be in the system at all of our locations in 37 countries.
Wow, that's fantastic. We're excited to go through that journey with you and see it continue to roll across your business. So in order to be able to do this, to really align your different sites, your partners that you may be working with, you need the right tools for the right job. And today, when you're talking about electronic quality management systems, that means that it's in the cloud. Matt from Fagron spoke to the global nature of their business, trying to get access for all of those different entities inside your own company, let alone the ones that are operating outside of your own 4 walls, becomes much, much easier with a cloud-based system. And it really takes you out of a situation where you're reactive in your quality posture to a much more proactive situation where in a lot of cases you're able to see things coming before they even happen. So a critical capability in addition to the cloud nature of this is extensibility of the system. We talked a little bit about supply chain earlier, and I think that the current environment with COVID has shown us how fragile the supply chain can be, particularly in the pharmaceutical industry. Being able to get out across your different suppliers, vendors, partners, and really make sure that your quality system is aligned, that you're both speaking the same language, you're putting data in the same place, that becomes a very key component. And again, the cloud nature of the system really enables a lot of that and allows the extensibility in the system. I know you guys have, with your compounders, have seen kind of some unique situations in the current environment, Matt. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So one of the areas that compounding feels is drug shortages. And so, for example, just a few weeks ago, there was a very large study out of the United Kingdom with thousands of participants that showed dexamethasone could be a useful active ingredient in treating COVID patients. Well, that's something that we're able to source and supply to compounders around the world very rapidly. And that's something that a larger organization in a traditional pharmaceutical manufacturing may struggle with. And by being in the cloud, we're able to organize sourcing and documents and coordinating everything from our qualifying and auditing teams in China, in Europe, South America, North America, very rapidly.
That's really exciting to hear. Yeah, dexamethasone, it's a very different situation than like remdesivir that comes out of a proprietary pharmaceutical brand.
Correct.
Very cool to be able to get that out quickly and very cost effectively too. All right, well let's take a look. Remember in the beginning, one of those takeaways was 8 points around an effective quality management system. So we're going to run through these pretty quick because I think Matt will do a good job of explaining how these have come into play in their own rollout at Fagron. So I think, Matt, you're going to take the first one here, if I remember right.
Yeah. So configurability is one of the biggest reasons that we chose MasterControl, because we can adapt it specifically to our needs. Fagron has many different business units ranging from basic compounding supplies, sterile compounded preparations, lab equipment, genomics. These are things that all have unique requirements. And in addition, being in different countries brings you different regulatory requirements. So being able to configure the system to adapt to each local business site's needs, but still provide the information and conformity as a global organization has been transformative for our business.
Yeah. It's a big difference from customizable software that existed for a long time, which can make upgrades and maintenance and all of those things much more difficult. MasterControl is a configurable off-the-shelf product, and it's really what allows our product to be used by folks like Fagron, by medtech manufacturers, pharmaceutical, healthcare. That configurability really allows people to adapt it to their individual processes and whatever regulatory environment that they might be facing. Kind of akin to this one is modularity. And it's this idea of being able to roll out the different pieces of the quality management system at your own pace. So maybe you want to start with document management and document control. Being able to do that without also having to take on a CAPA system or an employee training system or an audit system all at the same time is important in the success of being able to get these rolled out to the business and really get uptake within the business. It's also important that the modules are natively connected so that they're talking to one another all the time. You could go get a document management system here and a training management system here and a quality event management system here and try to integrate them all together, but that just adds an unneeded layer of complexity. Really going after a platform where the modules are connected natively and built from the ground up really simplifies a lot of that process. So I think you're going to talk to us about risk-based, Matt.
Yeah, so we really liked the closed-loop nature of the quality management system, how we can take in events and do an assessment and evaluate how risky it is to the business and what the impact would be. And that really lets us focus our energies on the right thing. So we can evaluate just the high-risk things and take action on those and have the most impact for our time while not letting lower risk events slip by. Everything does get handled. We're just able to focus the energy where it is needed, and we're able to contain all of our quality events.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys suffered from this at Fagron, but a lot of times in our customer base, we'll see people end up in what we call death by kappa, because they take all of their quality events and they feed them into the kappa system.
Yes.
And before they know it, you've got piles of kappas, right?
Right.
Being able to assess those events on a risk basis and be able to feed the right things into the kappa system as opposed to just everything can really streamline your quality system in your business.
And MasterControl let us configure our own custom risk assessments. So we're doing it on our terms for our needs.
Yep. Excellent. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the Accelerator portion of this. Being able to do things faster because of your electronic quality management system is really important. And I kind of go back to the cloud part that I was talking about earlier. Being able to get live faster in your production environment, being able to upgrade seamlessly, being able to take security patches, enhancements, improved functionality, all of those things should come together pretty seamlessly. What has been your experience with that at Fagron, Matt?
Well, those are all things I don't have to worry about. So you did all the hard work for me. And that's what's great about it. But also, when we're bringing a new site on or adding a new module, configure and test on our test site and bring it over to production, and we're ready to go. We don't have to wait for months of validation or custom software writing. I can just do it and go.
Awesome. We love to hear, I don't have to worry about it. That's what we're trying to do as the vendor, is really take that burden away from our customer. You led into this next one pretty well, Matt. Talk to us a little bit about what validation's been like for you guys.
So validation was something I was very nervous about when we got the system, because I'd never validated anything before. I was pretty young and I was among my first couple jobs. And so we opened up the VXT tool, and it was very easy to go through. I really liked how it was risk-based and developed with the FDA. So I know that the FDA is going to accept this validation because they helped create it. And it's where the mindset and trend of validation is going. And that's not to make sure that every single button click or keystroke is going to do what you want it to do, but to assess the risk overall. And that allowed us to validate our system in a matter of hours.
That's very different from what it was like when I started here at MasterControl 15 years ago. We had customers that would take months to validate their system. So a very different environment that we're operating in today. And like Matt was saying, you don't have to worry about it. That's a very different situation than the way that it used to be. So another key takeaway here is being able to personalize the system by who is using it. In our system, we call these roles. Making sure that when Susie logs into the system, she sees exactly what she needs in order to do her job. And when Tom logs into the system, he sees something different because of the kind of job that he does within the organization. Making sure that the right people are getting the right data at the right time. I think I heard a crazy figure from you, Matt. How many roles do you guys have in your system?
Right now we're at 830, and that's for just 4 sites.
Wow.
So,
I imagine, though, that even though that's a lot of roles, it really allowed you to personalize your system to your different types of users.
absolutely. Being a global organization, you don't want to give users information overload. Not every user, when they log in, needs to see the documents in Poland and the Netherlands and the United States. They just need to see the information for their site. Whereas then maybe a manager does need to see information from another site. So we're able to control that. And with the process module, we're able to dictate exactly who different events will go to based on different categories and where they are. And having that customizability is invaluable.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's really key in getting uptake of your system within your organization to make it as easy for people as possible. Like you said, if you overload them with information, they're not going to want to use that system, and they're going to try to go back to their old way of doing things.
And they won't be able to find what they need.
Yeah, but most importantly, right? I'll let you talk about adaptability a little bit here, Matt.
Yeah, so kind of along those lines of what I was saying, each business unit that we have within the company does something slightly different. Our outsourcing facilities in Kansas does completely different operations from our facility in Poland. And so being able to adapt the system to meet the needs of each site and to meet the regulatory requirements of the country that they operate in, it's just been a fantastic experience.
Yeah, and that adapting to regulatory environments, I think we've seen very real examples of that in the current COVID crisis, where we have automobile manufacturers that are building ventilators now, and we have t-shirt manufacturers that are making personal protective equipment. Being able to adapt very quickly, it really kind of leads us into the next point here. As your business grows and changes, your system should change with it. And it should really facilitate that and make it easier for you to do. That way you're able to expand your business in situations like we have today much, much faster than you would have otherwise. Where in a public health crisis, days and minutes make a big difference to people. You can't go weeks and months when you're talking about people's lives. So being able to expand out the quality footprint within the organization is very important in the current business environment, particularly in some of those situations that I was just talking about earlier, where you may have businesses that haven't operated in a highly regulated environment before. These are new things for them. Being able to do that in a way that doesn't unnecessarily burden the organization and also doesn't result in a rebellion of some sort as people get used to those changing regulations and doing things in perhaps a new way than they've done them in the past. So what value can an enhanced QMS system provide in this regard? Really being able to expand the scope and the impact that quality can have on the organization. And at MasterControl, we often talk about big Q quality and little q quality. We have quality professionals. We call that big Q quality. It is their job. But what organizations need to understand is that little q quality, your product quality, is not just the responsibility of your quality assurance professionals. It's the job of everyone across the organization. And I think that's really what an automated QMS system can bring to a company is expanding that responsibility, the feeling of responsibility to all the different parts of the organization, instead of it just residing with the traditional quality assurance function. And this is even more important in the distributed nature of business today, like we were talking about at the opening, where you've got a very disparate supply chain, you're working with lots of different partners, again, spread all over the globe. So, pushing out that quality mindset across all facets of your business. And that's really what I think everyone's here to listen to today and perhaps ask questions about, is how one of our clients, Fagron, has done this in their business. So I'm going to be quiet for a little bit here and just turn it over to Matt and let him run.
Well, Matt, I think you really hit the nail on the head there when you said that everybody's responsible for quality. At Fagron, that's central to us. If you look at our logo there, you'll see we have 9 dots. And those 9 dots represent our core business values and our strategic business initiatives. And that middle dot is the one that represents quality. And that's because it's central to our business. It's the center of everything we do. It touches everything, and everybody is responsible for quality. And having a cloud-based quality management system like MasterControl really empowers all of our employees because they can all access the system. We know that they're all accessing the most current version of documents to do their job, and everybody can report its incidents to quality. And being a centric platform that puts quality first just helps drive that value forward for us. So we will take a look at what we've done so far and what we plan to do in the future. So as I've mentioned previously, Fagron has 49 offices. We are physically located in 22 countries, though we operate in 37 countries. We have almost 2,700 employees. Of those, over 300 work in quality. And we've rolled out our system at 4 of our 6 sites in the United States so far, with an additional site planned for later this year, and 10 more sites in Europe after that. And so having a single system lets us unify. In the United States, we've gone live with just documents and training. And this has really saved us a lot of time. We spend 450 fewer hours prepping training materials at just one site. So that allows us to move resources towards more important things and make sure that our training is still compliant. With that comes some huge paper savings. So another key initiative for Fagron is sustainability and reducing our carbon footprint. And MasterControl is helping us do that by reducing the amount of paper we need. Again, at just one site, they're saving 15,000 sheets of paper a year. And they would, before MasterControl, need to print all of these pages every week, hundreds of them, and autoclave them to move them into the clean room. And it was just hours of prep work that now everybody has a tablet in the clean room, and it saves them a lot of time, and we know they're getting the most current thing.
Yeah, autoclaving paper just seems like a tremendous waste of time and money.
It was. As I mentioned earlier, we are looking to expand. So we have dozens of sites across Europe. We've identified the first 10 to go live this year. And they will also start with documents and training. And while they're going with documents and training, we're rolling out quality events in the United States. So, in fact, this week we're going live with our first site on quality event management in the United States. And
yay!
It is very exciting, and we are able to adapt and move quickly because this system is in the cloud. And probably the biggest wow factor when we looked at our data from our usage at the last year was if you assume that each task launched in MasterControl saves you an average of 5 minutes, whether that's carrying a document around the facility to gather somebody's signature, taking time to organize a training session, whatever it may be, assume that you saved about 5 minutes. MasterControl has saved us over 4,000 hours of work in a year. So that's about 1,000 hours per site. And that is metrics that makes business leaders very happy.
That's a massive time savings.
It is. And so to get that calculation, we've already launched over 50,000 tasks at our site, just in the documents and training module. We have our documents viewed an average of 10,000 times a month. And I know people were not reading our documents that often before when it was a paper-based system. It was a lot harder to access that document. And now people go, I wonder what this SOP says, or hey, do we have that written somewhere? And a quick search in MasterControl brings that information immediately, and it speeds up your whole workflow.
And it should translate directly to fewer mistakes, right, Matt?
Yeah, we've seen a huge increase in our right first time. I think we're over 100% increase, maybe.
Wow.
But a huge increase in our right first time because people have access to the correct document. They don't have to wait for it to be autoclaved.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And with 10,000 viewings of documents a month, we've had over 3,500 training tasks going out a month. So we know people are reviewing the most constant revision, acknowledging the changes, and we're staying current. So when an auditor comes and asks to see training records, it's not something that we worry about or try to select the appropriate training records to show. They can really take a look at anybody because we know it's up to date. The system just takes care of it for us.
I know when I was in industry and we had an FDA auditor in the building, there was always that sense of fear that came over you when they asked for a production record and then said, okay, go pull all the training records for each person that signed that production record. Mm-hmm. It was always an exercise in surprise. What are you going to find in there?
Right. And now we're not surprised.
Surprise management is a wonderful thing.
We haven't yet configured our supplier audits, but we will. That is on our roadmap. We have a dedicated quality office in China that performs on-site audits of our suppliers. And so again, being in that cloud-based system where offices around the country can share data, we can view the audit reports, don't need to worry about scheduling, and then also maintain all of that qualification data about our suppliers. What qualifies a supplier in Brazil is different than what qualifies a supplier in the Czech Republic versus what qualifies them in the United States. And so having that configurability to allow us to track which suppliers are qualified where and who has which documents, it really helps strive or increase our compliance.
Well, Matt, thanks for sharing with us some of the benefits that you've seen at Fagron since implementing your quality management system. I know there are things that I hear across our customer base, the things that they've been able to realize as well in automating and streamlining their quality processes. Just kind of recap here some of the benefits that we would expect you'll see. Obviously integrating and automating your processes, bringing together functions, sites, supply chain, all of those things happen when you align that quality system and get everyone speaking the same language and on the same page. Being able to access the data in a central place. Again, it goes back to that same language. If everyone's accessing the same data, there should be fewer arguments about what the data is saying. If this site has one set of data and another site is looking at something else, it's very easy for people to get crosswise with one another, and then you just end up churning and thrashing. Training accuracy. Yeah, we talked about this one a little bit, eliminating that fear of a surprise in your training records. Making sure that that's all the way it should be, that your employees are getting the training that they need to in order to do an effective job, and really prevent the chance of any mishaps during an audit situation. Greater flexibility. So again, talking back to some of the business dynamics that we've seen in the pandemic, being able to pivot the business quickly, maybe to a new set of regulations that may apply. Being able to do that in a quick, efficient way goes a long way to being able to realize the business objectives that you may have in mind. Greater control. Every quality professional that I've ever met likes greater control. Being able to see what's happening across all their different business units. Again, back to the data accessibility, being able to see what's happening in each of the quality processes across their business units really gives a much greater sense of control and improves quality in the product and across the organization. Greater transparency is also a big part of this. Being able to partner across the different business functions. A lot of that resides in transparency of that data. Again, speaking the same language, being on the same page. And then finally, I think Fagron has done an excellent job of this, but achieving global quality alignment. You're really eliminating those local processes, situations where, yeah, but we do things a little differently in our part of the world. While that may be true, the quality processes themselves are a great area to align the business around. The regulations are the same regardless of where you work or where you reside. We should be able to harmonize those systems, and I think Fagron is a great example of that. So with that, it's been a pleasure to be with Matt today and get to hear a lot more about your business and what you guys have done with your quality management system. I think we'll go ahead and turn it back over to Jennifer at this point for some Q&A.
Yeah, thank you. You guys touched on some great points throughout that presentation today. I hope all of our viewers found the information valuable and found some kernels in there that can help you in your day-to-day operations at your different facilities. So remember, if you have some questions, just go ahead and enter those in the Q&A using the Q&A icon that's at the bottom of your screen. We've got a couple here, so we'll go ahead and get started. First question is, we sometimes experience product delays because our quality processes are so rigid. How can the digital QMS system you've discussed today help us avoid some of those delays?
Sure. So maybe I'll start with that one, Matt. I'm surprised we haven't thoroughly confused ourselves with the two Matts here. But
I'm just going to turn that question to Matt.
Yes. Matt Lowe will take first crack at this one. We talked about this in the 8 key takeaways. Flexibility is an important part of your quality management system. While the regulations are rigid per se, the way that you implement the regulations into your quality system don't have to be rigid. the configurability, the flexibility, the extensibility, all of those things come into play in being able to adapt your business quickly and being able to get your product out the door much faster. Would you have anything to add there, Matt?
Yeah, I would add being in the cloud means it doesn't matter where you are. You can be at home or on the other side of the world, and you can still give that approval signature or collaborate on a document, complete training. So it really has empowered us when we had to transition to a majority remote working situation.
That's a great point.
Yep.
The abrupt shift to remote working, we've heard that from some other clients too, that they were able to kind of seamlessly transition that process because they weren't chasing down pieces of paper
Right.
inside their facility. Instead, everyone had access to it online,
Yeah.
on a digital platform.
Yeah, I mean, there are some parts of your business you may not be able to execute without a digital system that can be accessed from everywhere.
Right, right. Okay, so you've both talked a lot today about how everybody's responsible for quality. We call that the culture of quality. We refer to that around MasterControl. There's a philosophy that's a philosophy that we've had a hard time getting people outside the quality department to buy into. So for Matt Seitz-Paquette, has the QMS that you've implemented helped you get all the personnel more involved and aware of the importance of quality as a function?
It has. I think people feel empowered because it's right at their fingertips. You know, the quality department isn't just some cave at the other end of the building that tells people no. The QMS has allowed us to bring that front and center so people can interact with it and impact it. They can report things and know that action will be taken immediately on that it doesn't get ignored. If they have questions, they can refer to what they know is the current document. And so I really think people feel empowered and more ownership because we've increased the transparency and accessibility.
Yeah. That's, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think Matt covered it really well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so here's another question. Our company doesn't have a lot of visibility into our CMO's production. Can you offer some tips on improving that transparency so we can have a clearer picture of the activities and the impact of product quality?
Sure. Yeah, maybe I'll start with that one. This is really going back to what Matt said earlier about a cloud-based QMS. Being able to bring your CMO directly into the quality system goes a long, long way into increasing that transparency. You think about production records in particular. This is a fairly new part to the MasterControl platform. Your CMO maintains a production record. What if they were doing that inside of your automated quality management system? You can see real time as you go through each phase and each step of that production record what's happening. Even if that CMO is located in Europe and you're in the United States, you're in different time zones, really bringing those two worlds together and making sure you're aware of what's going on.
Where else could you have a batch record that's being executed and produced in Germany, but have approval and sign off in the United States?
Yep.
You can do that here. And the other thing I would add in is with the modularity and configurability is while you can grant your CMO access to your system, you get to choose what they can see and do. So you can still keep confidential business information knowing that is secure and that your CMO can't access it, that they will just access what they need, and then you maintain control over all of that.
Kind of points back to one of those 8 key takeaways again. The right data at the right time for the right people, that role-based configurability.
Yeah. So we talked a bit today, you talked quite a bit about training and auditors and that fear factor that comes in. So our next question is, for Matt Seitz-Paquette, have you had to endure an audit since you've implemented the MasterControl system?
We've had some follow-up audits since we've implemented MasterControl. And we've had some smaller customer audits, but not a full FDA audit yet.
And just talk a little bit about your experience with those audits, having a new system, where maybe there were some efficiencies gained.
Yeah, they go a lot faster because now we don't have to dig through a drawer to find the appropriate official copy of my SOP and take the time to make copies and everything. I can just type in a quick search and say, here's your document. And auditors appreciate that because they get information faster, and it just moves it all along so that we don't spend too much time on any one particular topic. We can just breeze through and rest assured that everything's there.
Yeah. So I heard an interesting analogy the other day. If you're a parent and you have an A student versus a C student, your follow-up and your interaction with those students will be very different, right? And so when you have a digital system and you're able to produce materials quickly and efficiently and they're complete and everything's, I's are dotted and T's are crossed, you don't feel the need to follow up with that A student as much, right? You know that they've done their homework, you know that they're getting good grades. But if there's a C student, you might put a little more attention on that to try to help them along, get them up to the place where they need to be, right? So that's kind of how we were relating the difference between digital versus a non-digital. So related to that last question, is the MasterControl system, and this will be for you, Matt,
Sure.
is it 21 CFR Part 11 compliant?
It is indeed.
Okay.
Yeah. MasterControl really pivoted to the life sciences space way back in the mid to late 90s when 21 CFR Part 11 came to be. The system was really set up well to do that. It's only gotten better over the many years that we've been doing this. It's EU Annex 11 compliant. All of the different regulations that folks have to deal with are handled by the MasterControl system.
Yeah, I think we still see a lot of companies have some hesitancy about the digitization and moving into that environment, but if we really dig deep into the FDA, they're on the same plan.
Certainly.
Right?
Yep.
They have their technology action plan that they're working on.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And knowing that the FDA is a MasterControl customer, that gives us a greater sense of security, knowing that MasterControl is following those best practices for how things are processed in the system, the controls that are in place, knowing that they are good enough for the FDA, knows that we're in compliance and will be happy with our audits.
Okay, well, that's all the questions that we have for today. We've come to the end of our time. If there are questions that were submitted, I promise that Matt, my presenter Matt, and my other presenter Matt, one of them or both of them will get back to you to answer your questions. We do appreciate your time today. We hope that you have, again, found this information valuable. If you would like to dig deeper into quality, MasterControl has developed the Ultimate Guide to Quality. And it resides on our website at www.mastercontrol.com. You'll all be getting a follow-up email, and we'll be sure to include a link to that. We'll also provide you with a link to watch this video or this webinar again on demand, or if you'd like to share it with others in your company, we'll make that available to you as well. So Matt Lowe, thank you. Matt Seitz-Paquette, thank you. We hope everyone out there that your businesses continue to be profitable and successful, and that you manage yourself through the situation that we're in today and come out on the other side shining and bright. Thank you.
Thank you.